The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guests and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of S4, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast or reproduction of this broadcast or podcast without express written consent of S4 is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to S4 Radio. Coming to you live from this side of midnight. Climb aboard as we explore all aspects of the strange, from UFOs and Bigfoot to ghosts and astral travel, and all the fringe subjects in between. You have found the cutting edge of Paranormal Talk Radio with your host, Eric Cooper, and our S4 panel of specialists. Prepare to go to the edge. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4 with Eric Cooper, broadcasting live from the beautiful mountains of Concrete, Washington. Tonight we are having our 2-year anniversary show. That's right, we've been here for 2 years now. It's pretty awesome. Tonight on our panel we have Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, R. Keith Andrews, astrologer and alien specialist, Michael Hall, the paranormal lawyer and owner of UFO I-Team, myself, Corey Reese, and your host, Forest Moon Paranormal Zone, Mr. Eric Cooper.
Hey, good evening, S4ians. And yes, you know it's supposed to be hot tomorrow. And like I tell you every week, we are at the Upriver Farmers Market here in Concrete every weekend, rain or shine. Because Debbie, our boss at the market, just loves rain, so we stay here rain or shine, and it gets interesting. But you know what? Rain doesn't stop people. People show up at the market anyway, and we're meeting a lot of locals, which is great, because a lot of locals don't even know Forest Moon Paranormal's here, because they're not on social media or they're not on the internet or whatever, but they find out we're here through the booth. So, and they hear about S4, which is great, because, a lot of them are learning that we're on 90.1 FM as well every Saturday from 10 to midnight locally. So they tune in there. Then if they get the link to the Fringe or to our Spreaker, they can listen live, which is great because the more people hear what we talk about, and that's what makes our show unique is that we actually have Markham, a scientist. We have Keith, an alien race specialist who actually deals with alien races on a constant basis. We have, in UFOI team, Michael, who has 24 years of experience in the UFO field. And Corey and I with Forest Moon. So we have a very well-rounded panel when it comes to picking apart topics and discussing the latest, greatest trends. So tonight we're actually going to talk about what started S4 and the history of S4, our favorite shows, and where do we see it going? We're actually getting stronger. So there's a lot of potential we can go and a lot of things we can do. So how's everyone doing tonight?
Not bad at all, thanks. How about yourself?
Doing very well.
No, I'm tired. I got through statistics. Statistics is done. I got my C. I'm happy with the C when it comes to advanced statistics. Now I'm back to terrorism investigation, and I won't say it's not boring, not by any means, but it's stuff I already know, kind of. Not the investigative side per se, but terrorism in general I do. So we're going to do a quiz, and whoever gets the right answer in the chat room, because obviously if you're going to listen on KSVU, you'll be too late. But what was the original name of S4? Does anyone remember? And that would have been exactly 2 years ago.
I know.
Before we were. I know you know. You're one of the originals right after the name change. But does anybody in the chat room remember what the original name of S4 was? And you'll get a mug. I'm watching. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, don't quit your day job.
No, I won't. I enjoy my day job, actually, doing paranormal work in school and kids.
Why don't you describe what that mug looks like? It's a brand new one.
If you're in that Forest Moon Paranormal group, you will actually see what that mug looks like. But we have two variations of the mug. One is a Pleiadian, and it says Forest Moon Paranormal on the back side of it. And the other is how do I even describe it? It's got a Bigfoot, a UFO, and a spirit on it, and it says Forest Moon Paranormal. It's got our logo on it. And nobody's getting it. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. Does anyone see? Okay, I'll give you a hint. It has to do with S4.
Yeah, that was a hint. Yeah. Congratulations.
No, actually, Markham's steering on me. It's not S4 the E squared. That's not the original. That was the second name we came up with.
Yeah, that was the second one. That was
the second name we came up with. And then you had to drop off because of work, and we just went to straight S4 and it stayed that way.
Joe wants a mug.
Well, actually, I know Markham's going to talk to our source for the mugs and see about getting fringe mugs made up. He just needs a logo. But, so, S4 started actually with myself and SJ and Russ Wells of Fog Paranormal, formerly Fog Paranormal. They kind of quit about a year ago. And, stepping back to the 80s, I was a radio DJ on KSVR, college radio, as a punk DJ. So I enjoyed doing radio shows. And, I got out of it. I actually, interestingly enough, DJ'd on Armed Forces Network for a minute when we were in Kuwait. But that was all music. it wasn't talk radio. And so when SJ and Russ came in and said, you know what, we want you to come with us and do a it was originally going to be a video show, like a live video feed, and we were going to call it Area 51 Cafe. Ding! Yeah, that was the original name of S4, Area 51 Cafe. And we actually had a mug, and we did exactly 2 shows. We actually went up on the mountain behind my house, and our original show was, and you can actually find it on the S4 YouTube channel. And we sat in the middle of a logging road up on the mountain and talked about Bigfoot, talked about aliens, talked about UFOs, talked about everything. And then both of our cars broke down, so we couldn't do any more shows. So we agreed that we were going to split off and do our own shows. Well, I wanted to kind of, being a UFO in the UFO field and, abduction field, I wanted to keep with the Area 51 Cafe, the Area 51 theme. So I just named my show S4. Because for those that don't know anything about Area 51, it's got a bunker called S4. And that's where they're supposed to house the alien bodies and these crashed spaceships and whatnot. It's a bunker in the side of a mountain. That's what S4 is. So I stuck with S4 for a couple months, and here comes Markham. And so we went with S4 with E squared. Because, Eric Markham, Eric Cooper, there you go, S4 E squared. And how long did we stay with S4 E squared, Markham?
Oh, God, it was several months. I think it was almost, close to a year, wasn't it? I don't know.
It might have been close to it.
That whole year is kind of foggy.
It is, because it went quick. And we've never changed the weekly. We've always been a weekly show. I think we started out Sundays and switched to Saturdays. But it was fun. And I mean, we actually, him and I, Marco and I took topics, so we tore them apart. RH negative, I think that was your biggest pet peeve.
Oh my God, still is when people post about that. I just want to shake them till the nonsense falls out, or they.
Well, yeah,
whichever comes first.
And so many bring up RH negative like it's something new, and we picked that apart a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I even sent you I sent you a current version of the American Association of Blood Banking manual to show you where, where I was speaking from on that. I mean, it's a very well documented, well researched blood antigen.
Right. And so it went for, and then Markham had to go, had to kind of step back because of work. So it was just myself again, and then Corey came into Forceman Paranormal, and we took over as four of him and I, and then we pulled in Keith, and then Markham came back, and well, now we've got a lawyer, which is awesome.
Don't hear that every day, do you, Michael?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, what, the awesome lawyer?
Yeah,
a lawyer, awesome. Yeah,
it's
right.
awesome. awesome to be a lawyer, I suppose. But a paranormal lawyer, that's even better.
Yep.
It is. I agree. So now I'm going to open it up. What are your favorite shows that we've done?
Oh, I think when we went through the alien races that are apparently here on Earth book, that was pretty good. And of course, I enjoyed debunking the whole Rh negative thing being added by the aliens.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure
Corey?
which one, but I do know that going down the rabbit hole with Eric is always, shall we say, entertaining.
It is. It really is.
Well, then that's every show.
Well, that's why I said I'm not entirely certain which one.
Some of my favorites. Some of my favorites have been some of the conspiracy ones that we've done. I think when we did our little thing on CERN and stuff like that was some of my favorite stuff because it kind of dealt into physics, which is one of my favorite topics. Personally, so that was kind of a fun one to kind of delve into and then be able to kind of bounce ideas back and forth with Mark, and I find that rather pleasurable.
So I'm going to be watching the chat room, so I want to hear the chat room's favorite shows as well.
Yeah, because that'll give us an idea of where they want things to go.
Well, that's also going to go into part 2 of the show tonight because I want to hear what topics and what guest speakers they might want to hear. So S4 is all about the listener. It's all about the experiencer. So I want to hear what they have to say, for sure. I think, I enjoyed the UFO Cult and Contactee show. Do you remember that one, Markham?
Oh, yeah, I do. That was... God, how long? Here again, between work and some of the other extra activities I have, the days tend to run together, but I remember that show. I remember liking it. There's as much detail as I can get.
There's Trippin's favorite was the abduction survey show.
I see that. And, oh God, yeah. I think the first time we actually did the abduction survey show, it was the one where you were kind of tripping out there.
Oh yeah,
Michael.
We did that first one when it was S4 with E squared, and I'm ticking these things off.
Yep.
Going, oh crap.
Yeah, you're going. I think you hit 22 out of 52.
Yeah, I think it petered out about halfway down the list. And I was like,
right.
We got one comment in the chat room that says they want to hear about government cover-ups.
Yeah, so Char's saying you and Markham are vets, so I want to hear about government cover-ups. And I really hate to disappoint. We're definitely going to do it, Char, but I just want to clarify that just because I'm a vet doesn't mean I know any more than what I can research. Because being a vet, being in the Army, I didn't hear anything more than the general public learned about with cover-ups. I didn't have a classification high enough.
Yeah, we're mushrooms. They kept us in the dark and fed us, manure.
Nice.
Right. I had a secret clearance, which is really only enough to, it really as a combat medic, it only was there for HIPAA and medical clearance, basically things of that nature. Now, there's no way in heck I would have ever gotten a top secret. Top secret takes about a year to get cleared on, and yeah, no, being in the UFO field. Well, being in the UFO field at that point in time, they wouldn't have given me a secret clearance. They wanted me to have one based on the equipment I was working around, but they gave up trying. And then once I was diagnosed PTSD, my clearance got taken away. So I can't even get one. So
well,
not to disappoint you.
It was funny that as with my secret clearance on the Nimitz, I still had to have a escort when I went to Flag Intel to work on the phones. And my escort was, he's now rotting away in prison because it was the famous spy, Brett Walker, who was sailor of the quarter at that time. It's like,
well, if you're going to get taken into an area, who better to do it?
yeah, I'm thinking, okay, they don't trust me, and they've got this rat booger watching what I do, and he was the one that was stealing all the secrets.
Right.
Well, just to qualm a little bit of that there is that we are planning and working on trying to get a couple of guests to come on the show that do have a little bit more of that inside intel. In fact, one of them, I believe, was a CIA whistleblower. So some of that stuff is in the works. It may not come from us directly, but it's definitely in the works to come through the show.
No, and to add to that, Corey, we do have a guy named John. I'll leave it at that for now. And we will put out the date, but we will be having a special edition Saturday afternoon show with John. He is a CIA whistleblower. He was also Secret Service during Ford and Carter administrations. Has all kinds of information he can divulge, or if you ask the right questions, as he put it. You have to phrase the question correctly. His words. And he also has friends that he is going to bring to the show that we can actually have in as well. So as far as do we have connections, Char, Markham and I, may have connections we don't know about, but like Corey said, Corey's got friends who have friends as well. You can have connections without being military or being a vet, believe it or not. And I still have friends that are active duty, so they're you never know who's got information that's willing to share until you ask. So I might be digging into some of those as well, because I do know for a fact that we were actually in Iraq in the 90s as well, because some of our medics went to Iraq, as they can't talk about, shortly after Desert Storm, actually. So, will they talk? Maybe. So Caden wants to hear Bigfoot experiences. We'll definitely probably get Larry Anderson back on to talk some more Bigfoot. He also has friends that he can pull in to talk about their experiences. And I don't know, we might get brave enough in the future to actually open up phone lines. We'll see.
Well, in time, the whole trick with that is trying to get it working right so that you can handle it properly.
Right. And sometimes you just don't want to open that door because you never know who's going to call.
Yeah, for me, answering the phone when, because of what I do for a living, you get used to talking to people that are a little different. But the real catch to it, and it sounds bad, but even on the radio, like we used to do live radio when I was traveling with the fairs. And we'd get callers calling in, and even on live radio, if you've got a problem caller, hang up on them. You just tell them point blank, this is not the way this call is going, so you're going.
Well, the only problem with it is that, because our stuff does get played on live, not live, but recorded terrestrial radio, we got to be. It's hard to do if you don't have a screener. Because, and a little bit of a delay to be able to cut some of that stuff out. So it's one of those things that we'll look into, but we got to be real careful with it because it does get played on terrestrial.
Yeah, we were researching for the Fringe FM. We were some of the other shows like Lighting the Void. We were pricing a dump button. The actual equipment you need to have that pre-record, to have that 30 seconds to hit the red button and hit the flushing noise, and you would not believe how expensive those things are. You'd think it'd just be like a little plug-in for your computer, and it's like a $800 piece of gear, depending on how much of a delay you want. I mean, obviously the more lead time you want, the more of a buffer, the more expensive. But they aren't. They are definitely not a free app you download from the online store at all.
Joe says $3,000 for 8 seconds of audio delay.
Oh yeah, it was ungodly. Yeah,
wow.
That's right.
Good.
So just you got to be quick on the hang up button.
Right.
Don't get a caller that wants to say something like fudge. Yeah, that's right. The 8-second was about half as much. It's amazing, 8 seconds for 1,500, or you get a full minute, almost a minute and a half for twice as much. So.
Well, Caden's saying probably cheaper to get a screener. Well, no, it's just cheaper not to have open phone lines.
Right. Well, but Char's saying it's not worth it, but when you consider if we were on an actual terrestrial station and the FCC levies a fine for an F-bomb, that's, that thing, yeah, Trippin's bringing that up after FCC fines $3,000 is cheap, yeah. Not to mention,
right.
We struggle, we build the Fringe FM up into something, grand and glorious, and then get our license jerked because somebody dropped an F-bomb in the middle of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And now, Keith, Char wants to know if there's a chance you can get an alien interview.
I've tried that before, and it doesn't work as well as you might think.
Okay.
Primarily,
I can get Miguel down at the Home Depot to come on. Oh, you mean an alien like?
Yeah, I'm saying
okay.
No, I've tried that before, and usually it results in a even if we get some semblance of connection, way too much flack happens.
Okay, what flack is in what?
Well, they tried doing that on another radio, and I kid you not. I know you guys aren't this way, but I kid you not. The hosts were more of a pain in the neck than the listeners were.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that is a major problem. And of course, the other issue is we haven't managed to get society comfortable with the whole idea. So you run into a problem with that neat little thing of disclosure and whether or not they're real, etc. And of course, in case you hadn't noticed, we're on radio. There's not a whole lot of visibility.
Right. And I remember all the flack you took for posting the picture of that blue guy.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah. And that was a picture. Can you imagine we get somebody, and I'd be like one of the top skeptics. It's like, yeah, okay. Where's the bona fides? Let me see his intergalactic driver's license or something. Yeah.
Well, we can rig one of those up, but But no, I mean, when I posted that picture years ago, the amount of flack and I warned people before I posted it that you couldn't tell by looking at it because the giveaway was when you shook that man's hand, and I'll use the term man a little loosely. When you shook his hand, the pigmentation in his hand moved. Just kind of like one of them, like one of those the funny little bubble stickers that have, I think it's oil in them or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that, you push on and the pigmentation moved. Well, if you're dealing with, what the heck is it called? Silver, the heck is it called? That silver, I forget what it's called now. But anyway,
colloidal silver.
Thank you.
That'll turn you blue. Yeah.
It'll turn you blue, but the pigmentation doesn't move.
Right.
Right. And
the other giveaway was you turned up pregnant shortly after the handshake. So.
Yeah. No. No. I think we avoided that one. Yeah.
Always wear a glove.
Right.
You're just sad, that.
real quick, Michael. That brings me to that exciting information you just got over there in Glacier. You want to go into? It's hard to. So Michael met a guy in Glacier, real quick, and he's got UFOs that actually seem to be communicating with him. And he made a video of the guy's video, which is hard to. I like to see the actual video, but what's unique about that, and I know Michael's going to go into it here in a minute, but is the binary code and the pictographs at the bottom of the screen they showed him. You want to touch on that, Michael?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a little bit of background on what's going on. I'm up here as an advance man in Glacier, Washington, up in the North Cascades right now, and we are working on getting ready for the pitch pilot episode that we're going to film for the UFO I-Team. And while I'm up here, I'm asking folks, if they'd be willing to tell us their stories. And we have a town hall meeting scheduled for July 20th here at the Maple Falls Visitor Center, where we're going to solicit people to tell us their sighting reports. And we're even bringing Bigfoots into that, too, because there's a lot of sightings of Bigfoot up here in the North Cascades. But one of the guys that I inadvertently met up here in this small little mountain community is a gentleman that has a lot of success in capturing UFOs on his small Nikon Coolpix video camera. Now, if anybody doesn't know what a Coolpix is, it's a real purse-size video camera that you can basically carry with you and, get rudimentary video and audio and save it and download it, and it's on a SD card and the whole thing. So what he's been doing is taking, he says he goes out pretty much anywhere he wants to and takes 5-minute videos, not much longer than that, maybe 10-minute at the max. And he'll run it through his laptop computer from the SD card, and then he can frame by frame review the video that he just took. And even though he didn't see anything while he was doing the video, he was setting it up on his tripod and just allowing it to run. When he goes frame by frame, he's finding these very distinct and fast-moving UFOs that, believe it or not, are going, I'll tell you basically how fast his camera shoots. He shoots at 29 frames per second with this Nikon Coolpix video. But that's, not very, very fast. Most cameras nowadays will go 50 frames per second or more. But his 29 frames per second translates to, if he sees an object in the field of view of the camera, he will for instance, see a flying discoid shape, maybe in the bottom right-hand corner of one of the frames. The next frame, the thing will be like in the middle of the field of view in the frame. And then maybe the third frame, the thing will be almost gone outside the upper left-hand corner of the field of view. So when you calculate 29 frames per second and divide that by how many frames these things are moving through the camera field of view, and on top of that, you can determine how far away the mountain range is behind that and how the distance between the peaks that this thing is traversing. These things are literally potentially going 20, even 50,000 miles an hour. They're going so fast, obviously, you can't see them with your naked eye. You can only catch them if you have them on video and then able to slow it down frame by frame. And I was just talking with a gentleman the other day, and he said just the day before, that would have been last week sometime. Actually, it would this week because this is still Saturday, or into Sunday already. He said that he had some videos that he reviewed and had the anomalous objects caught in there just a couple days ago. So as you mentioned, Coop, we do have video of his video, which I did a live stream of the other day on the UFO iTeam Facebook page. But I do have the actual pen drive that he downloaded the original images to. So we've got video and we've got the still images that he took that I would love to have you guys review in the raw footage form just to see what he's getting.
Yeah, because I'm really, and yeah, Trip, he was only using one, and that was funny because it was a cheap camera. It wasn't even like a high tech. It was just a basic model cheap camera that he had, and it's interesting because it showed binary code in the bottom with little alien images, and the camera shut off. Did it not, Michael?
Yeah. Let me explain that. That is just the most bizarre part of these video images, or the still frame images that came from his video. He will be doing his short bursts of video of the sky, and these are daytime photos, by the way. He does it at night as well, but the most impressive ones are the daytime video. And every once in a while, his camera will just be shut off. It will just turn off. It's on a tripod. He's not handling it all, but it'll just go dead. And then I asked him, does this mean that your batteries are dying and that's why it's turning off? Because we have experienced that ourselves, where we're sky watching with our video cameras, our night vision and our stop action photography, and all of a sudden the batteries will just drain. I mean, it's so quickly that you can just see the batteries just going and dying right in front of your eyes, and then the camera turns off. But he's telling me that the batteries are not affected on his Nikon Coolpix. It's just that the camera turns off for some reason. So eventually what he was doing is he was reviewing the frame-by-frame video just before this thing was turned off, the camera was turned off, and he found, you're not going to believe this, but he found a small band of, looks like digital information across the very bottom of the frame just before his camera turns off. And to kind of tell folks what this looks like is that, those scrolling things at the bottom of like a newscast will tell you the stock prices and the ball game scores and those kinds of things that really don't have anything to do with the news story, but they have extra information down at the bottom of the screen. And that's exactly what this looks like, but only on the last frame before the camera turns off. And Coop is correct. I mean, they look like digital images. They look like they could even contain images of faces, of even alien faces in this thing. And it's also even got a three-dimensional look, some of the streams on there, but it goes completely across the full length of the bottom of the last frame before the camera turns off. And he's trying to get someone like S4 and Markham and some of those guys to look at this to see if there's any way we can decode what these digital images might be.
And and Corey, just is there a way we can get your client on S4?
You know, I mentioned to him that he might be called upon to actually come on a radio show and explain exactly what he's doing. He's willing to do that. I can get this guy on S4, and it would be a fascinating show, especially if we can get Arkeith and Markham the footage ahead of time, so these guys will have a chance to review in detail what he's looking at. If you'd like to do that, I will talk to him.
By all means. By all means, because it'd be great, because we'd have Keith analyzing it for alien race, and we'd have Markham analyzing it for the binary code on the scientific scale. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And, let's get some information exchanged, because I definitely would like to see about booking him.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I will only give you his first name because that's what he wants to go by. But we call him Rob from Puyallup, R-O-B. And he will be the guy that I will contact. I'll probably talk with him the next day or two before I leave Glacier, Washington, and I will get him in touch with you, Corey, with your phone number there, so he can get a hold of you guys.
He could also get a hold of Cooper too, so give him Cooper's number as well.
Okay, I'll give him both numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. And actually, if you want, have him come down to the market one of these weekends, and we can actually do a face-to-face if he's comfortable with that before we even have him on the show.
All right, that's a good idea.
You find more clients are actually more comfortable talking face-to-face, and then they're more willing to, come on the show once they get to know you a little bit. And these are the kind of shows we want, because, the experiencer that's actually doing a CE5, that CE5 is somewhat new, I believe, is it not, Michael?
Well, it's becoming more and more popular now. I think probably Dr. Stephen Greer was the gentleman, in the early 2000s that kind of brought that into popularity after J. Allen Hynek's, version of Close Encounters of the First, Second, Third Kind. Then, of course, fourth kind would have been Abductions. And now CE5 is the classification of human-initiated contact with alien entities or craft. Matter of fact, one of my clients is Dr. Richard Haynes, PhD, the ex-NASA scientist who wrote the book called CE5 about a historical look at classic cases where human beings contacted or had some kind of response from an alien craft. For instance, they're out in in the dark and they see some lights in the sky and they flash their flashlight at it very simply. And sometimes those flashes are returned to the human being doing the flashing, and they've even been able to match the same kinds of flashes and those kinds of things. Father Gill, who is a pastor in a church, and I forget where it was, but someplace in South America, I believe, had the classic example of seeing a flying disc hovering over his church with some of his parishioners, and he goes outside and actually sees entities climbing, or at least in a railing around the top of this flying saucer, and he waves his hands over his head, and then these entities wave their hands over their heads in mimicking Father Gill. So that's a classic CE5 scenario where human beings are initiating contact, and then there's a response from alien craft. And matter of fact, this Rob from Puyallup, the interesting thing about his videos is he will show discs that are streaking across the field of vision of the video in the far distance. And then very shortly after that, there seems to be potentially even the same craft coming back the other way and getting very close to his lens, maybe a couple hundred yards away from his video camera, and coming back the other way. So it's almost as if they are interacting with him, either his mental and brain waves, that are out there listening or watching them, or they're reacting to the camera somehow, whether the camera is giving off any kind of electronic or magnetic signature. I don't know. That would be a good question for Markham to find out whether, cameras like these inexpensive Coolpix cameras actually give off any kind of a signature that could be, detected from something like a flying saucer.
Oh, let's see. It's an autofocus point-and-shoot camera, right?
Yes, right.
Okay, then it's got if it has a autofocus capability, it has an infrared beam coming out of it, because they send out a infrared that the camera uses to focus itself. So if you have a detector, that's like a big flash. If you got something can detect infrared, as that beam goes out, of course it spreads, and if you're a mile away, that beam would look like a huge flash.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
And getting to abduction, even back in the 90s, it was known some abductees would actually get a video camera and record them sleeping, and the camera would be turned off and they'd be taken. Yes. I'm sure you've heard of those cases, Michael.
Yes, exactly right. Matter of fact, some people were under the impression that if they could set up their video camera, they would either catch the aliens entering their room or doing whatever they were going to do, and or potentially they would be able to stop the abductions from happening if they had a video camera there. The theory being that the aliens would know the camera is there and that they would then stop the abduction or leave. And you're right. What's been happening is that inexplicably their video cameras are turned off in the middle of the night for no apparent reason other than the fact that they ended up being abducted anyway after that.
Well, let's face it. With the technology they've got, shutting off a 20th century, Canon photo camera is child's play. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can do that with a simple. Number one, a simple pulse can do that. But at that time, if they knew the camera was there, shutting the thing off, they just need to walk over and turn the button off.
But it's not even that hard with my Avereo. My JVC Avereo comes with an infrared remote. So what's it take for them to just, wave their little ET magic wands and shut it off without even having to touch it?
Well, exactly. That's what I was referring to about the the electronic side of it. They just don't want it running, so shut it off.
And that brings up the issue as well that I've heard that Bigfoot can do the same thing.
Right.
And for some reason, they sense the presence of like a game cam or a video camera set up to capture their activity, or they can turn it off remotely as well. And maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're sending out some kind of a sonic blast.
It's not sonic. It's biomagnetic.
Interesting.
And I run into the same problem going through security. I'll shut down their systems if I'm not careful. And it literally, the biomagnetic interrupt technological electrics.
And that brings up an interesting theory I just thought of. You do have people that have managed to photograph Bigfoot. Now, were they fake? And that's to be determined. But it makes you wonder if it's an implant that is causing it, and if these Bigfoot that also have the same abductee implant are the reason for the cameras flaking out. Is that a possibility?
Well, technically it's possible, but trying to get corroborating evidence may be a bit of a problem, because now we got to find the not only do we got to get the implant, but we got to get the Bigfoot that we can get the implant from.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's why it's a theory until we can prove it, which probably will never get proven, because it's hard enough finding a Bigfoot, let alone the implant.
Yeah, let alone getting the cooperation side.
All right. It's just something that crossed my mind, because, Michael's absolutely right. There's been many cases of game cams set up to capture wildlife that you can see the deer cross the field of vision. You can see the rabbit cross the field of vision. And then all of a sudden you hear a strange primate noise, and the camera goes white. And it goes white for a minute. The noise disappears. And then here comes the deer. Here comes the coyote, So it goes to show that Bigfoot can oftentimes disrupt electronics.
Well, that's the whole thing. When you're looking at that whole issue, because you're dealing with something that mankind has not figured out how to effectively track, much less block, it creates an interesting problem.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what they're trying to do, and let's face it, electronics, they don't seem to know how to stop it yet. But an EMP pulse is what we're talking about, but a naturally generated one. So that's where you're going to get the problems with imaging.
Right. And Tripp is bringing up the point, too. If they can put a person in a hypnotic state to walk out of their house and onto a craft, and they can have the person turn off the equipment as well. And that is a very valid point.
Oh, yeah, very definitely. It wouldn't take a whole lot.
No.
Let me ask our Keith, does that electromagnetic pulse you're talking about, would that leave any kind of binary code or signature on videotape? Is that what might be happening to Rob from Puyallup's video cams?
It is quite possible, depending on the way the tape is done. Now, I'm certainly not a photograph expert, but if your camera is recording magnetic images, then it is quite probable that you would get if you will, an unclear biomagnetic image. Because the camera would be able to, the computer in the camera would be able to translate the magnetic, but the biological it could have a lot of trouble with.
Interesting.
And Caden's bringing up, does that mean Bigfoot's extraterrestrial? No, not at all. It means Bigfoot is possibly interdimensional. It means... Go ahead.
The thing we got to remember here, if it exists in the physical world here, it's third dimensional. Can they alter their vibratory rate so they become invisible? The answer is yes. But that's not a different dimension, it's a different speed.
Right. Yeah, and my main point, though, is Bigfoot is not extraterrestrial. They're two different things. You got too many cases where UFOs came across Bigfoot, who was terrified and was actually seen running away from the UFO craft. And on the other flip side of that, you've got the Bigfoot that was seen coming and going out of a landed disc. So, you have two different fields of thought with it. But is he extraterrestrial? No, not at all. And I'm actually excited because I got a phone call today while we were at the market from a guy that is going to come and talk to me, and was up in one of our local areas and had a very strong skunk-like stench, which I believe is indicative of Bigfoot. He's seen tracks up there. He's seen other sign up there. But if he got the strong stench, then that means Bigfoot was quite close to him.
Oh, yeah.
Generally speaking.
Let's say that's pungent stench.
So he'd be another one I'd like to get on the show if he's willing to. But yeah, he's been up in these mountains for years hunting and tracking and scouting and whatnot. So that's getting back to the market is a really great thing to be at the market all summer, because we're actually getting FMP exposure to people that need to talk. And it's successful thus far. We've only done it for 3 weeks, a month now. Anyway, we're getting to top of the hour. It's time to take our first break. So go ahead and take us in a break, Corey.
Okay. When we come back from break, we'll continue to have our 2-year anniversary show. Tonight on our panel, we have Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, R. Keith Andrews, astrologer and alien specialist, Michael Hall, the paranormal lawyer and owner of UFO I-Team, myself, Corey Reese, and Eric Cooper of Forest Moon Paranormal. Join us every Saturday night at midnight Pacific Standard Time. You can find us on Spreaker.com and The Fringe FM. And for you local listeners, you can catch our shows on KSVU 90.1 on your FM dial every Saturday from 10 p.m. to midnight. Please go to thefringe.fm and check out the show lineup with shows like Lighting the Void with Joe Roop, The Paranormal Code with Rich Giordano, and a plethora of other good shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back.
This is Joe Roop from Lighting the Void, and you're listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting Station, The Fringe FM.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Bouval, Lon Duquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
You asked for it. We listened. Changes are coming to the Fringe FM. Hear the Paranormal Code with Rich Giordano live Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, starting July 9th.
July 9th, we're going to be going 4 nights a week on the Fringe FM.
Followed by Lighting the Void with me, Joe Roop, live at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Then, stay up with us in the early morning hours for some of the best paranormal and alternative programming around. The truth is out there, and so are we. The Fringe FM.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy. Bugs. I hate bugs. Our home is clean, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. The ingredients in Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list, so Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com and Ace Hardware.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Preston Dennett from PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
My name is David. I suffered from MS, or multiple sclerosis symptoms, since 1986. For years, doctors tried to help, but didn't give me any real hope. I tried almost everything. I was afraid this was my future, but I did not give up hope. 8 years ago, a healthcare worker told me about RegeneStem. I called RegeneStem. RegeneStem explained how stem cells worked. No promises, just a simple explanation of the science. They treated me with respect and understood my journey. For the first time, I felt hope. Now I can jog and snow ski once again. It's been amazing. I have been symptom-free of multiple sclerosis for 8 years. I have learned that stem cell therapy has a broad range of medical therapy, from COPD to chronic pain and diabetic neuropathy. It's an amazing therapy. If you want to talk about your chronic pain or your chronic symptoms, call RegeneStem today.
Call 305-224-1858. That's 305-224-1858. 305-224-1858.
Welcome back to S4 Radio. All right, welcome back, everybody. For those of you just joining us tonight, we are having our 2-year anniversary show. On our panel, we have Eric Markham, R. Keith Andrews, and Michael Hall. Welcome back, everybody.
Well, thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
Always. So, real quick, I do have an announcement. If you have a business you would like advertised on S4, the commercials you hear at the top of the hour could be your space, and we have a wide variety of packages that we offer. I'm not going to go into them. Just contact someone from S4, and we'll get you a packet. Now, jumping into a question, Caden was asking in the chat room if we've noticed a rise in UFO sightings. Actually, we just talked about that last week, didn't we? And, you know, I've got to say, 4th of July, Izzy and I actually saw a UFO. Now, was it a drone? It could have been. But it didn't act to me like a drone. And anyone that was in Cedar Woolley at the fireworks show probably saw it as well, but it was a very bright red light. It moved from north to south. It actually moved from the Alger Mountain, and it zigzagged. It was, to me, too high to be a drone. It shot straight up. It went really bright red, and again, it zigzagged. It lasted about 5 minutes. It left. It came back. Very interesting sighting.
And we have dead silence.
It's not an episode of S4 unless Coop's phone dies on him at least once. You know we're on S4.
His phone didn't die, though.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, did we not leave? It just all of a sudden it's like 100% dead air. It's like, what?
No, I'm here. I had to go deal with a child. But did anybody else? Let's see. Corey, where were you on the 4th of July?
I was at home. I didn't do anything.
Okay. Yeah, because there were 2 or 3 people in Woolley that I know saw it. And again, could it have been a drone? It could have been. But Keith.
Yeah.
Which race would have I know there's only select craft that have red lights. Which race around here do you know of that would have a red beacon?
It's only the red beacon?
Yeah. And it's strobed. It also strobed.
Okay, yeah, but it was strobing, but only in red. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have a shape to work with, just the issue of the color.
Yeah. And yeah, okay, so Jaretta's in the chat room. She saw it as well. And so, yeah, it zigzagged right over her house, and she thought it was a drunk drone flyer. But Jaretta, was it only a red light, or do you recall it changing colors? I did actually get it on video, but it didn't show up very well.
See, the thing is, the odds are that you're dealing with Nordic. And of course, with Nordic, you're usually got the gray somewhere close by. But a little hard to be certain with it only being the one color. We can certainly rule out your Pleiadians and your Safazians. That's the easy part, because it wouldn't be just the one ship or just the one light for it. Besides that, the spacing would be all wrong.
Okay.
Hey,
go ahead.
I have a question for you, just to describe a little bit more in detail what that light looked like. What was this light hovering, first of all, near fireworks, or was this away from the festivities?
Oh, no, it was away. It was away. It was out in complete black. Like I said, it came off the mountain. And it came very slowly, and then it shot, and then it hovered and went up. I mean, again, it could have been a drone. It kind of moved drone-like, but it didn't feel like a drone to me. Again, like Joretta says in the chat room, like a drunk drone flyer, maybe. But it zigzagged a lot, and it just seemed too high to be a drone to me. Now, I know with, Steve, our drone operator in the group, His goes quite high, but this seemed higher.
Yeah. Well, and they don't zigzag very fast, that's for sure.
No, not at all. And it left, and then it came back. Now, I saw what I thought was a UFO, and then we ruled that out real quick, because some of them are easy to rule out. It was one of those Japanese lanterns that light up, and they go really high, but they flicker. If the light flickers, it's generally speaking not a UFO. It can be a military flare. It can be, a Japanese lantern, things of that nature. But no, this one, it actually, and I know Dredd is saying it's only red as well, but I thought it turned green at one point.
Well, if it was vacillating between green, red, and blue, you're dealing with Martokian, aka came out of Mars.
I know it didn't go blue. There was no blue in it. It was, if anything, it was green and red.
Well, that's standard navigational beacons for anything that flies or any ocean-going vessel as well, right. So you can tell if it's coming at you or going away.
Although we can safely rule it out of being an ocean vessel just simply about
well,
it's got a bigger problem.
Not if the UFO was carrying the ocean vessel.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Right.
Okay.
Oh.
That's just sad.
Yeah, so Dredd is confirming she didn't see the green. She saw it coming from the north, going south. It stopped, came back to the north, zigzagged right over her house. The light went off, came back on, and zipped back over the north again. Yeah, there's a lot of zigzagging with it. I remember that, and it was funny because we were at the carnival, and the kids wanted it was between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. The kids wanted to go to the haunted house ride one last time, so we went over to the haunted house, and they went in their little ride, and I was talking to the carny, and I said, "Have you ever seen a UFO?" He goes, "No, but I'd love to." It's like, "Oh my God, there it is again." He goes, "You see a UFO?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's right there." He goes, "Oh my God, it's a oh wow." I can't see what I was going to say, but yeah. But yeah, we laughed in the car. He was still, ranting and raving, "Oh my God, it's a UFO." But yeah, and that was Izzy's first UFO. It was like my fifth or sixth. And even, my skeptical mate was, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's a UFO. It's UFO by definition. It's an unidentified flying object. Is it extraterrestrial? Maybe, maybe not. But it is unidentified right now. So it is a UFO."
Were there any reports on it? As in police reports or that sort of thing?
I haven't checked because, frankly, I've been busy with school, and we're getting ready to go to the ocean for 3 days next week. And, dealing with 3 to 4 cases a day and market on the weekends. So I don't have a whole lot of research time anymore.
Yeah, I can understand that all too well.
And I'm getting ready for Paracon. As in getting ready for Paracon, putting out promos and getting flyers out and stuff like that.
Coop, was there any sound associated with the light at all?
No, zero sound. Cause I was listening for a humming noise. I was listening for a vibration. I was listening for anything. There was zero noise.
Yeah, because those drones are quite noisy.
They are. And, in comparison, I heard an airplane. and I watched the airplane fly by, and I saw the drone, or not the UFO, still off in the distance. So there was no noise with the object.
And you heard the airplane, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, we could hear the airplane.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that even itself tells you you're not dealing with any sort of standard mechanical. You know, let's face it, you can hear the airplane and you can't hear the other one. Theory is the other one is, well, might be closer, but if you can hear the one, the other should show up.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to clarify for some of our listeners, and Jarrett heard the airplane as well. But Skagit County, which is where we're headquartered, is and Michael can clarify this for me too as well, that we are the highest rate UFO reports in Washington State, and tied with, again, Grays Harbor for Bigfoot sightings. So to see a UFO, it didn't shock me. It excited me because I haven't seen one in a while, but we do get reports all the time. But, you know, it just makes the adrenaline rush when you actually see one.
Yeah, there are many reports of UFOs on the 4th of July. That is one of the major times of the year that people are outside looking at the night sky, and of course they see things they wouldn't normally see. And who knows, maybe these craft and or alien beings are attracted to this crazy celebration that we seem to do here with our pyrotechnics.
Well, you know, in getting on that, I think it's 4th of July as well as New Year's, because they both, you know, have a high rate of aerial fireworks. I think, and Keith might be able to back me up on this one, but one, they just enjoy looking at the fireworks. I don't really think that's what it is. But it also, you know, where you look at fireworks from above and it kind of looks like a battleground.
So
that's probably what they're thinking. You know, we show up over LA 75 years ago and they're still firing rockets at us.
Right.
They still have guesses that it doesn't work that well.
So, I know you communicate with a lot of them. What would the perception be? Would the perception be ooh-ah, or would the perception be, oh my God, there they go again?
Well, yeah, the ooh-ah, not really. I mean, some of the younger observers would certainly be intrigued by it. But depending on the race, with the Greys it being more socioeconomic, what is this meaning? With the Ozzians, it's like, well, how come there's no bodies? You know?
Yeah.
No.
Haven't they improved their targeting systems any better than that?
Pretty much.
Right.
You know, for crying in the water.
No, I think my next thought would be UFO sightings increase, to abductions increase as well. Because when you look at it from the alien perspective, they're going, what's going on? Let's go abduct someone and see if there's any change in their DNA after this, you know, aerial bombardment. Would that be a thought?
Oh, that would absolutely be a thought. That would be part of standard research. Now, it's your guys' department to figure out how many people have been abducted since. You know?
Well, I haven't seen a rise in abduction cases yet, but again, the problem is getting the word out that FMP is here to help abductees. That's always been the problem, and it'll always be the problem. Because that's when you see the rise. We see a rise of membership in FMP after we do the promos, because the new people in other groups go, oh my God, look, it's an emergency response team, cool. And then we see a rise in cases as well. But the trick is getting the word or the message out to the abductees that we're here to help them, and then get the information and look for patterns of increase or when they increase.
Well, yeah, and that's the trick, because and you'll get a delay in that anyway, because let's face it, most people that go through that, number one, will argue with themselves for the first week about whether it happened anyway.
Right.
Right, and then you've got to get the mess sorted through to figure out which ones are functional.
Okay. So Cade wants us to walk through how we stop abductions. We won't do that tonight. That'll be on the team show. And actually, we've gone over that with the team shows before. Getting back to the topic tonight, though, what do we want to see in future shows, and how what do we see for the future of S4? Where are we going to be in year 3?
Well, personally, I'd like to see you at least double the number of active listeners.
Oh, triple at least.
Well, that's up to the listeners. I mean, that's also up to networking and getting the word out about S4, which is always a work in progress. But what kind of topics do we want to delve into? And I'll be honest with you.
It's hard to stay fresh and still stay in the paranormal, because the paranormal is getting done to death, but there's got to be a way to make it fresh.
The thing is, now, Roop and I had a talk, and I know some of our listeners that are in the chat will probably verify this, but most people that listen to S4, our listeners come to S4 when we start talking about how to fix their problem. And, how do you properly clear your house? How do you, keep attachments from coming onto you? How do you stop abductions? How do you, how to? Seems to be what people like to hear, because they like to know that they're safe. They like to, how can they help themselves?
Well, there's too many people out there, and I keep having to deal with the other side of it, where somebody will go, well, I went to so-and-so, and they said they would, they could help protect me from this, and now they're asking for even more money, and they haven't, I haven't had anything done yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be it is a question of disability.
Number one, the minute anybody asks for money, thank them for their time and politely turn around and leave. FMP doesn't charge a dime. If you want to help with the gas, that's one thing, or a donation for gas, but there's never charge a customer or a client. So as a client, if you're talking to a group about something and they start mentioning money, you've called the wrong group.
Yeah, and to add to that, though, we don't ever expect a donation either. I want to clarify that. You mentioned donation, but there are teams out there, and I'm not bashing on anybody. Don't get me wrong, because I know our numbers drop when we start talking pet peeves of the paranormal. That was one statistic that came out. But anytime a group starts saying, we do take donations, then that becomes a charge, because then in the client's mind, you just said that you expect a donation. And I don't ever.
That's true.
I don't ever want that to. I don't ever want that to be misconstrued. No, we don't ever expect donation. We'll ever ask for one. But like you said, if they offer one, we will take it, because we can always use gas and equipment and Paracon and other events that we do. We do fundraising for our funds, and we never expect a donation, and we'll never ask for one. If anyone says they're part of FMP and they say they charge, I need to be notified ASAP because we don't ever. And I've kicked people out for taking money.
Oh yeah, definitely. There is, like, Trippin in the chat room has said he would like to hear about Ouija board etiquette. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. Nothing like Hasbro. I think it was Hasbro turning the Ouija board into a game. It might just have all been selling nitroglycerin.
Yeah, and Triffin brings up a good topic. We could do Ouija board etiquette. And to get in time, to get in with the times, we might actually make the Ouija board etiquette a Halloween show.
Maybe get into the history. Didn't we do a show about the history, or am I thinking of a Ouija board, or did I write an article somewhere for that one?
You're thinking of other shows you've been on.
Yeah, there was a show that I remember, and it might have been over on SOR, but there was definitely one that you were involved in where we talked about the history of the Ouija board, but we didn't go into the issue of the etiquette of it. Okay.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, and that might be something we'll look at in October. Jaretta brings up, how to help people understand witches. And, we've done understanding paganism in general before. And, again, that might be something we'll look at in the future, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tools that could be looked at there. There's some that we just don't deal with. One of the ones that would be fascinating, though, especially given it being Forest Moon here, is a slightly more directed or in-depth discussion of some of the tools that are used when you guys hit boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean technological tools, not the metaphysical ones.
Now, what I would like to do is get, I think would be a great show, it'd be getting Francie, our licensed therapist, on the show to talk about psychiatric issues in the paranormal, because we haven't hit that one yet.
Yeah, talking about whether, when is it a honest to God, event, and when is it somebody just backcrap crazy? Or, they've got a mental problem, a legitimate mental problem, and it has nothing to do with spirits or aliens or anything.
Right, and, she actually wrote FMP out a protocol on the different types of psychiatric issues involving the paranormal. Some of them, all they want is attention, and here's how you identify that. Some of them, the paranormal is drawn to them because of psychiatric illness, and here's how you identify them. And, in those cases, we actually send them to Francie, and she will address it. Now, her being in Idaho, she still has resources and contacts, across the nation. So she can actually, send them to a local resource. And she will actually be at Paracon talking about, psychiatric and paranormal. Because what you do find is it's a two-way street, oftentimes, where the paranormal is drawn to psychiatric problems, and psychiatric problems can draw in paranormal. And then, of course, you got...
That's what
right.
Real is.
And then you got the ones that are just taking advantage of paranormal and saying they got an issue, and, well, they're the ones you just cut ties and say, go get some help. The other thing we are doing, too, is getting resources for crisis hotlines, because, we've had cases where we actually had to call crisis hotlines for clients and have a welfare check done on them. So, being in the emergency response field, these are areas that we always have to be on top of.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, Trippin's bringing up proper etiquette of using ghost boxes.
Same idea. There's a lot of people that are using those things in a very, shall we say, unhealthy fashion.
Yeah, I think if anybody wants to know how to do it right and respectfully, Bill Hauser is, whether you believe in what he's doing or not, he is always very respectful, and his way of doing it, I would say, model yourself after Bill Hauser.
Well, and Bill Hauser would be the one we get. I think Bill Hauser would be the one we get on the show for that topic.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to Bill a couple of times, and he certainly has a solid base to it.
Now, I'm going to run this by you guys while we're on. And who's heard of James Hamilton? Not Hamilton. What's his name? Who's the time traveler?
The guy from 69 something, 6940, whatever.
James Titor.
No, it's not that one.
The new one.
Huh?
The one that actually passed
he passed a
lie detector.
Yeah, he's an alien time traveler that his ship got disrupted. I believe it was by the Blood Moon. And he's stuck here until his race comes and retrieves him. And yeah, he actually recently passed a lie detector test. He'd be a real interesting one to get on the show.
Yeah, that would be fascinating.
James Oliver's the guy's name, but one of the things to realize, the headline, the clickbait is time traveler from 6491 passes lie detector test. That's the clickbait headline. The truth of the matter is he refused to answer. There's a lot of questions I asked him that he just refused to answer. Significant questions. It wasn't like, they were things that make or break his story, and those were the questions that he refused to answer. So it's easy to pass a lie detector test if you don't answer any questions.
Right. Well, and I know, the article I read that addressed him the most is when he was talking about I can't think of it. The volcano in Montana, Yellowstone.
Yeah,
you're talking about Yellowstone volcano going off.
Oh, the caldera, yeah, that whether it's gaining like a foot a year or something, it seems like.
Right.
And let's face it, if that one goes off, well, it's not if, it's when. It can be, they can actually bleed it off so it's not as bad. But whether the so-called professionals are willing to talk to somebody about it is anybody's guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one in Guillermo. Stopping that tsunami is child's play, but getting somebody to pay attention so it can be stopped is another question. Well, you've got the same thing with Yellowstone. There is a way of bleeding off the energy so it doesn't detonate.
Well, so what are the UFO reports over Yellowstone? Is there a significant amount of reports?
Well, I'm assuming that there are normal reports in that area, but when you're talking about a a place that is, has a lot of population, that's when you're going to get more of the reports than in an area like Yellowstone, which, gets seasonal activity, but people, not a lot of folks live out there. So you're probably going to get less in that kind of a thing than normal, actually.
Right, and and we've had Keith on the show where we talked about volcanoes and UFOs, or volcanoes and alien activity. Because correct me if I'm wrong again, Keith, but there's many races that actually feed the energy off volcanoes to keep them from erupting.
Absolutely, not the least of which is the magma, which they're an elemental that lives in the volcanoes. But they don't want their heating system to be thrown all over the living room, all over the ground outside either. It's kind of counterproductive.
Now, I've got to ask you, what happened with Hawaii? Or is there some volcanoes that actually have to just release energy?
Well, because mankind hasn't quite figured out how to release the energy, it's got to be released. It does build up. But what's happening is they're not releasing the energy where it can be, and that's what's causing the side effects.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, you've got Yellowstone that is starting to build. What most people don't realize, and they're going to tell me I'm nuts when I tell them this, but the one that concerns me isn't Yellowstone, it's Mount Kilimanjaro.
Mm-hmm.
That one's going to cause a problem.
Yeah, that's going to affect the whole planet, I believe, isn't it?
Well, so will Yellowstone, but Yellowstone can be reduced. Okay, the reduction of Yellowstone is actually to reduce the caldera so that it doesn't take the top off the mountain is actually relatively easy. If you know, don't get me wrong, I know how it's got to be done, but I'm not a demolitions expert to be able to go, this is the amount of material.
Right. And Michael, if I remember right, there are a significant amount of UFO reports involving volcanoes, are there not? Such as in Newport?
There is. There's historic reports of even videos. So a lot of these volcanoes, by the way, have their own kind of like webcams. You'll notice you can find them on the internet, actually. They're 24-hour webcams that are just recording the activity or non-activity, of the mountain. And that's where a lot of these craft are seen, some of them even flying into the volcanoes. I've seen that on the internet myself, and I'm just like our Keith was mentioning, maybe there's not a problem with the magma in there and the craft getting inside. Of course, they might be, phasing in and out of that kind of 3rd or 4th dimension anyway. So who knows how they interact with the volcano, but they definitely seem to do that.
Well, you got to remember, some of these ships, they actually refuel off the sun. So refueling off a volcano would be, well, frankly, child's play.
Interesting. Same thing with the sun, possibly, and those videos of some kind of craft sucking energy in a vortex from the sun.
Well, let me put it this way. Years ago, back when BBSs were the thing and news groups were the state-of-the-art internet, if you will, somebody had mentioned they were talking about the UFO thing, and I simply made the comment, so I take it you don't know about the fleet inside the sun's corona. Well, the following morning, I woke up I made the comment and went to bed. The following morning I woke up and there was a private email in only bold letters, right? Just huge, bold, all caps that said, "What do you know about the fleet?" So I wrote back and I said, well, I don't know, the longitude, latitude. So gave them the directions as though you're looking at the face of the clock and sent it back. That was at 7 o'clock in the morning. At 11, when I went back onto the news group or tried to take a look at it, at what was going on, the news group had been completely wiped out. So I wrote this guy back that he contacted me, and I used a reply on the, from the question he asked me in the first place, and he immediately writes me back going, "Oh, you must have the wrong person. I don't know anything about what you're talking about." So, needless to say.
Now,
go ahead.
Well, I want to bring up ECETI too. Is ECETI Ranch by James Gilliland, isn't that near a volcano as well?
Well, it's Mount Adams down there, definitely. That's the major landmark in the area at Trout Lake, where ECETI is. As a matter of fact, UFO I-Team and Ambition Pictures are kind of doing a collaboration down there at the end of August in a kind of a skywatch and investigation of that mountain as well. That's a hot spot of UFO activity for sure.
Well, that's also a CE5 location because they actually call in alien races.
Yes, they do have a protocol down there that James Gilliland is teaching. Anybody who wants to come to the ranch.
Which would be fascinating to say the least.
Well, and this will intrigue you, Keith, because they actually have a feline race that goes there.
Well, that would be entertaining. Especially there's that I know of right off the bat. You've got one which is an offshoot of lichen, and the other which is Leburian. Either one of which are a fascinating race to talk to.
So, are they human friendly?
The lichen, not so much so. The Leburian, if you, the best way I can put it is if you don't get on their bad side, because they are much more, well, I think the best way to put it is they follow, not monarch, but matriarch rule. And much like the old days in the, when we're dealing with kings and queens and castles and what have you, these people are very much on the issue of the proper etiquette. And the reason I said if you get on their good side, they are fascinating people to talk to. If you get on their bad side, they're likely to rip your lips off. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical way.
Mm-hmm. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a question of, actually there's a third race, but those are your big ones. If they've got them out there, you can bet things are going to be active and kind of exciting at the same time.
Now, getting to the point of, Skagit County being number one for UFO sightings, we have Glacier Peak and Baker, two volcanoes that are quote-unquote dormant, but still steaming, right here in our county.
Yeah, so much.
So that right there would be a UFO draw.
Oh, yeah, because you're talking about thermal venting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm not sure
No.
about you guys, but if something is venting, I don't call that exactly dormant.
No, not at all.
Well, it's obvious that a lot of these different races have figured out how to use the thermodynamics to refuel for energy. It'd be nice if we would figure out how to do that well enough. We wouldn't be relying on so many of these other types of fuels for energy, because we've got plenty of thermal around here.
You know what the sad part is? They already know how to do the thermal. And it isn't actually as expensive as you might think.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate part is going into the thermal energy patterns interrupts the fossil fuel industry. The hard part there, of course, is we cannot, and I know I get flack for this, but we cannot wipe out the fossil fuel industry because it's not just the oil in the vehicles that's being affected. We don't have the replacements to deal with the lack of what the fossil fuels produce.
Oh yeah, you're talking about plastics and anything poly, pretty much, and then of course any different type of every machine that we have uses some kind of grease or lube, and that all comes from fossil fuel. Yet, though they probably do know how to make fully synthetic stuff for all of that, it ain't gonna happen. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's affected other than just gas and diesel.
Yeah, not the least of which half the clothing people are wearing today.
Yeah,
well, they do have
polyester.
There are full synthetics. Full synthetic oils. That's all I use in my Jeep is full synthetic. I think the problem is one. I don't think we're ever going to cure the argument or solve the argument about whether it's fossil fuel. There's a lot of people think that it's not. It's just that there were organic remains. It is a hydrocarbon, so they thought that the first time they analyzed it, this is from dinosaurs. Well, there weren't enough dinosaurs. There wasn't enough organic material ever on the planet to create the amount of oil that seems to be there. So with the whole abiotic theory of oil production, where it's just a function of the grinding of the mantle and the core of the earth creates a hydrocarbon and as it bubbles up through the ground, it picks up impurities, crude oil.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually abiotic.
Yeah, and that makes total sense as far as that goes.
Well, the fact that one of the moons of Jupiter, it's either Jupiter or is Enceladus. One of the moons it's either Saturn or Jupiter. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to cheat by looking it up. But it is covered with oceans of hydrocarbons, methane and, these naturally occurring hydrocarbons. So unless there was a lot of dinosaurs and swamps that were existing at near negative, absolute zero at the fringe of our solar system, it's quite possible to make abiotic oil.
Oh, yeah. Very definitely is possible. And the thing is, when you're dealing with that side of it, the ironic part is that oil is a natural product. There's no question there. This is not a decay thing. They'll figure that side out eventually. But I do agree with you that even when they get it all worked out, it's still going to be a problem getting it swapped over because of the number of people that still want the oil industry as a priority.
Yeah, that's the main thing. We're talking about a power base that's so entrenched. I mean, plastics, so much of our day-to-day life, let alone fuel for our cars and lubrications for industrial applications. You know, there are so much that you don't realize that oil is used for. Well, I won't say you personally, but I mean that so many people don't realize how many uses oil has.
Well, anything that has the word poly in it. Literally anything that has the word poly in it has got some type of oil base.
Polygraph? Or polynomial?
Okay, you called me in through Skype, so how am I coming through now?
I hear somebody.
Fine.
All right. So, yeah, we're getting down to the last 10 minutes of the show. And, Corey, we haven't heard much from you tonight, so what kind of topics do you want to hear on the show in the next year?
I want to see some new guests. I'd like to see us get some more guests like the ones that we're planning to get on. I think that having a little bit more of that is going to bring about more listeners, just because there's going to be people that others want to listen to hear from and get the knowledge from. Not to say anything bad about the panel that we have got, because we've got some great knowledge on our panels and stuff, but we need to have a little injection of other stuff to discuss to come in, I think. Just wanting to try to see if we can find a few more topics that we can bring into the fold here. I mean, just as it is, I mean, we've got, just from our audience tonight, we've gotten 10 more things to kind of bring into the fold here between us and the audience that I think, you know, we can sit down, discuss, and really make some good shows out of, and some real information out there to educate listeners and stuff with. So, you know, I think we're moving forward quite well. You know, I think our move to the Fringe FM was a wise one. It was a super good move for us, and I think that if we can continue on in the manner that we have done thus far, you know, trying to keep things as fresh as possible and having more information for everybody and stuff to discuss, I think we're going to do well. And so, you know, basically that's kind of what I'm looking for, is just that forward movement and getting a little bit more in here.
Oh, agreed. Totally agreed. Now, this is where the audience comes in, so because I like to hear from the audience as far as what their topics are, and more specifically, who do they want to hear as guests? Because, you know, the world we live in, contacting people to speak and contacting people to come on the show isn't always that hard. It's amazing who you can actually contact to come onto the show. So this is also where our listeners come in, as far as who do you want as guests? Who do you want to hear from? And, you know, Corey and I can work on that. So I see the next year as being phenomenal. On the paranormal side, UFO side, Bigfoot side, 2018 has been phenomenal, and we're only halfway through it. When it comes to the S4 side, sky's the limit. And, you know, we always say keep your eyes to the sky. Well, the sky is the limit. So we're getting down to 7 minutes. Michael, how can we find out more about UFO I-Team?
Well, they can always go to Facebook and look at our Facebook page at UFO I-Team. And the I in I-Team is a lowercase I. They can check out the website at www.ufoiteam.com. And yeah, I'd appreciate folks checking it out, and especially if you're interested in that Rob from Puyallups video, check it out on Facebook.
most definitely. And, I want to see the actual feed as well. Cause I want to get a really good look at that binary code on the bottom. That's the most intriguing.
I want to see that footage too, just to make sure we're not getting a fast-moving object creating an artifact because it's a slow-moving shutter. Like rods from about, 15, 20 years ago. The guy was convinced he was getting a creature. Yeah, he was. They were bugs flying across his field of view.
Yeah, right.
The frame rate.
Yep.
So, Mark, where can we find The Fringe?
You can find The Fringe at The Fringe FM and Lighting the Void. We'll get you there too. Either one. And one of these days I'm going to actually have that information written down directly in front of me and not rely on my favorites bar and be able to do that correctly.
Right. It is www.thefringe.fm is the actual website.
Thefringe.fm, yes.
Yeah.
There's another Fringe FM that's not us. If you're on first thing to do is look for Lighting the Void or one of our
S4
programs, FMP, look for S4. If you find S4 or Lighting the Void or My Gorgeous Face or Joe's on there, you're in the right place.
All right. And, Joe's on in the chat room saying, the Fringe.fm also has an app as well that you can download. And there is no other Fringe FM. And I completely agree. The Fringe FM is, to me, the only Fringe FM.
I've downloaded that app. It's a very good app.
I looked it up, The Fringe. That was my mistake. I looked up The Fringe, and there's something fat. Forget I mentioned it.
Yeah.
There is only one, The Fringe FM. Yeah, the FM being the important part.
Right. Now, Keith, where can we find information on your show?
Well, the easiest place is either on YouTube, which is R. Keith Andrews, or if you want to drop me an email at innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca. Those are the two easiest places to find me. And Facebook.
And real quick, tell us about your book.
Well, I've just finished a booklet called Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. And
where can we find it?
You can order it directly through me, and there's actually a copy coming to you so you can get a look at it.
Oh, awesome.
But we sell it at $10 plus $2 in Canada and plus $3 in the States to handle shipping.
Okay.
And it literally tells people how to take their life from where it is and get it kick-started back into the life they'd like.
All right. Awesome. And, folks, you can now get Forest Moon Paranormal mugs. One's got, I believe he's a Pleiadian. The other one has got our logo. You can find go to the Paracon website at www.fmparacon.com. We own the website. I can't remember what they call it, but we own the website, the domain. There we go. We own that domain, so we'll always have that website for our Paracons. If you're local and you're locally listening, come down to the Concrete Farmers Market at the swap meet. Look for the Forest Moon Paranormal booth, and we can sit and talk paranormal. Next week, Markham's going to be here live. And Corey's going to step out. He's got to get up early. He's got to go throw a hammer over a bar. And so we're going to have the round table next week. So, Corey, go ahead and take us home.
Okay. I would like to thank all of our panel tonight. Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, R. Keith Andrews, astrologer and alien specialist, and Michael Hall, the paranormal lawyer and owner of UFO I-Team. Join us next Saturday at midnight Pacific Standard Time as we're going to have our roundtable, it looks like. You can find us on Spreaker.com, thefringe.fm, and for local listeners, KSVU 90.1. I would like to thank all of our listeners because without you, there is no S4. Good night, and remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Hey there, it's me, your stomach, down here, you know, the one who can talk. Anyway, I was just at a yoga sesh with a few of the other stomachs, and mid-tree pose, everyone started talking about Subway's new savory rotisserie-style chicken Caesar signature wrap. It's a mouthful to say, I know, but with creamy Caesar dressing and double the rotisserie-style chicken. It's not the only thing that's full, if you know what I mean. It's me. I'm the one that's full. Because I'm a stomach. That's kind of what I do. Subway, make it what you want. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.